Hey everyone. In this video we're going to go ahead and take a look at the carpals of the wrist. These are these little bones right here, these 8 bones in your wrist. In the hand they're called carpals. In your feet they're called tarsals. Then after that we'll go ahead and look at our 5 metacarpals and our phalanges. So let's start off with our carpals. We're going to be naming them, or grouping them rather. We're going to be grouping them into 2 rows. So we have a proximal row of 4 carpals and a distal row of 4 carpals. We're also going to be naming them lateral, medial. Then when we're done naming them, we have a little mnemonic that will help us remember. So let's just go through them one at a time. Proximal row first. We have the scaphoid, lunate, triquetrum, or triquetral carpal. Triquetrum is fine. Then we have the pisiform or pisiform. This is actually a sesamoid bone. It floats inside of a tendon that we'll talk about later. And then now in our distal row, we have the trapezium, which is right under the thumb, trapezoid, capitate, and hamate. All right, so if you were to spell that out, it would be scaphoid, lunate, triquetrum, pisiform, trapezium, now we're in the distal row, trapezoid, capitate, lay it over in the room, hamate. Okay, and there's kind of a funny mnemonic for this. We're going to do the PG version, and that is some lovers try poetry that they can't handle. And that stands for scaphoid, lunate, triquetrum, pisiform, trapezium, trapezoid, capitate, and hamate. Some lovers try poetry that they can't handle. All right, nice. There's a couple structures on here that we don't cover, but there are some interesting structures if you ever take a more advanced anatomy class. For example, the pillars of the carpal tunnel, pisiform, we have the hook of hamate, then we have some other tubercles here. We don't cover that, and I don't believe it's in your notes, but if you do see something other than these 8 carpals, don't worry about it for the purposes of our class. So let's move on to our metacarpals. Metacarpals are named just based on their number. So we have 5. Number 1 is going to be our first metacarpal is going to be in our thumb. Metacarpal 2 in our index finger. Metacarpal 3 in our middle finger. 4 in our ring finger, and 5 in our pinky finger. They do have some regions that we'll talk about. The proximal region of each metacarpal is called its base. So the part of the bone that articulates with the wrist or the carpals is the base. And then the end is the head. The distal end is called the head. And then the region in the middle is called the shaft. So if I were to say, quiz, identify this bone structure, you would say that is the shaft of metacarpal 3, or that is the shaft of the third metacarpal. Either of those are. Now let's go to our phalanges. Again, we have 5 rows of phalanges, except that we have 3 phalanges on each finger, with the exception of the thumb. And those are called the proximal, middle, and distal phalange, and it's named for the finger it's on. So in this case, this would be proximal phalange 5, or proximal phalange, proximal phalanx of finger 5, proximal phalanx 5. Phalanx means 1 and G is plural. This would be middle and this would be distal phalanx. The thumb is a little different. The thumb, we just have a proximal and a distal. So we would say that this is the distal phalanx 1, or this is the distal phalanx of the first. You can also refer to each of these fingers as a ray, but probably simpler to just say probably simpler to just say distal phalanx 1, middle phalanx 5, metacarpal 1. That's probably the simplest way to go about it. And that's it for the hand. Thank you guys.